Welcome to Women's Rugby Rundown 196 for April 7th through the 13th. Kenya made history by winning the HSBC Sevens Challenger Series, while South Africa claimed the final leg in Krakow, with Argentina and Colombia also booking spots in the upcoming Sevens Play-off in Los Angeles. However, World Rugby is reviewing both of these tournaments, and so it's cast uncertainty over if there will be promotion next year. In the Guinness Women's Six Nations, England and France stayed on track for a Grand Slam clash on Super Saturday with convincing round 4 wins, and Italy picked up their first victory of the campaign against Scotland. Spain continued their dominance in Europe, securing their 8th consecutive Rugby Europe Championship title. Of course, we'll round up all of the global premier and club competitions worldwide as well. I'm Wendy, here to bring you the latest in women's rugby news, and this is your Women's Rugby Rundown, and we're about to kick off. We'll start with Sevens news. South Africa went unbeaten in Krakow to claim the final leg, but it was Kenya who made history as the first Kenyan side to ever win the overall HSBC Sevens Challenger Series title. Colombia and Argentina also booked their spots in the Sevens Play-off in Los Angeles. We already know the pools for the championship part of the tournament for LA Sevens, May 3rd and 4th, but let's take a look at the bottom here. We've got our qualifier teams. This is not pools yet. I want to be really clear from that. It's just the top 4 from the Challenger: Kenya, South Africa, Argentina, and Colombia. They'll take on the bottom 4 from the HSBC Sevens Series: Brazil, China, Ireland, and Spain. And we hope those pools will be released soon because it's a really exciting format. But we have to say there's a little bit of a pause here because World Rugby is reviewing the current format of their Sevens Series and, of course, the Challenger Series as well. We've heard that it's not making money and, audiences are declining. So that's in person and on TV. So they're looking at changing something. They could go to 8 teams instead of 12 teams, and that would be both on the men and the women's side. Or they could move the Challenger Series to regional tournaments. And we just really want to urge World Rugby to just take a really good view at this and make sure that they are not cutting out the bottom teams. That was the best thing about the Challenger Series, is it gave teams that have never competed at this level consistently a chance to do that. Even though it was only a couple of stops, it was something to work towards. An example of this is China won the Challenger Series last year. And here you can see they're 13th. Historically, if you look at these results, the team that comes from the Challenger Series usually ends up last. And this time around, we've got Spain down there and Ireland. So it shows if these teams have consistent ability to play rugby and on the big stage, they will improve. We'll switch over to 15's news now. Round 3 of the Guinness Women's Six Nations was pretty sweet. Wales held tight in the first half, but France found another gear after the break, running in 42 points to stay unbeaten, and this keeps them on course for Super Saturday Grand Slam clash with England. Ireland led for much of the first half against the Red Roses, and it was in front of a record crowd, but England had a second half surge, and it was 7 tries, and they absolutely dominated in the scrum, winning 49-5. Italy held off a late Scottish surge to earn their first win of their campaign with a Muzzo brace and a bonus point clincher, sealing a 25-17 victory in Edinburgh, their first win of the Women's Six Nations this year. Spain have officially defended their Rugby Europe Championship title, going unbeaten with wins over Portugal, Sweden, and the Netherlands, claiming their 8th consecutive title. The final match this weekend between Sweden and Netherlands determines final standings for this event. Uganda and Zimbabwe opened the Rugby Africa Cup Division 1 with strong wins over Tunisia 27-10 and Cote d'Ivoire 46-8. All 4 teams are battling to replace Cameroon. They finished last in the 2024 Kenya Cup last year, so that will build out the 2025 Africa Cup. It's such an awesome time for women's rugby. There's so much to come, and this is just showing April. Of course, we haven't even gotten into May or June or July. We have all of that on our site. The Warthos will take on the Blues in the Super Rugby Women's Championship, the first ever. There's a RWC warm-up between Spain and South Africa. Rugby Europe Cup, one more match. Another round of Women's Six Nations, the Kenya Cup between Mwamba and Impala, USA and Japan. And then we close out the month with Railway taking on UL Bohemian for the Nigeria AIL. So much going on. It's awesome. Let's take a look at our club and premier news. The Warthos cruised to their 6th Super W title with a dominant 43-21 win over Queensland. The Blues are back-to-back Super Rugby Open Key champs after a thrilling 26-19 win over Matatu at Eden Park. The Warthos and Blues now shift focus to Thursday's showdown in the first ever Super Rugby Women's Championship. You can obviously get tickets to be at this, or you can watch on Stan Sport. In round 4 of WER, Denver rolled past Chicago 76-7, and Bay Breakers took down New York 39-19. Denver and Boston are on top, all 3-0. Can't wait for that matchup. But the Bay Breakers broke into third with this win. In USA Club, we're very close to knowing what our national brackets will look like. Just waiting on a few results from the weekend. There was some inclement weather that pushed things around, so we're just going to make sure we've got everything in line. But the next event will, of course, be the finals, May 16th to 18th in Indianapolis, Indiana, and you can watch on the Rugby Network. Railway Union and UL Bohemian are headed back to Aviva after winning their Nigeria AIL semifinals. Railway outpaced Old Belvedere 37-24, while UL edged Blackrock 15-12. This final will be on April 27th at Aviva, and you can watch it on Irish Rugby Plus. The BC Premier quarterfinals were supposed to be this weekend, but Seattle withdrew, so now they're jumping straight to their semifinals. Those will take place on April 22nd. It's number 1 UBC Thunderbirds versus number 4 Burnaby Blake. On the other one, number 2 West Shore versus number 3 Castaway Wanderers, and they will lead into the final on May 3rd. Fiji announced a new women's competition, and it kicked off last weekend, the Nasako. There was a hard-fought 5-5 draw between Kaanui Tony and Takaya, and then followed by a Billy commanding 32-14 win over Thamakau to close out the weekend. The Kenya Cup final will be April 26th. Mwamba will host, and they will face Impala. That does it for us. Of course, there's more news on our site at yscrugby.com. And never miss an episode of Women's Rugby Rundown by subscribing on Spotify, YouTube, Patreon, or any of our favorite social media platforms.